Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Hidden Superpowers with your host, Ashley Lee. That's me. I'm so excited to meet you here today to speak and to talk and to explore the opportunities of frequency finders. What is a frequency finder? Well, let's dive in and really explore how we are frequencies, we are energy, and how do we find, how do we touch, how do we receive, how do we move through the frequencies of life? Talking about and exploring and feeling and sensing and knowing the frequencies in our lives is very valuable to creating that which we want. As frequencies are emitted into the world, we send and receive these energies all the time to determine their origination and destination. So as you can see, understanding the frequencies or energies in our life is actually very valuable. For example, when we're hearing, right, we can all agree that when we hear music, it has tonality, it has pitch, it has voice, it has tone, it has different levels of frequency intonations that our ears, and even inside of our superpowers, our ability to hear our higher hearing, right? When we access our higher hearing, all of those elements are frequencies that we're tuning in. There are other frequencies that we may or may not have considered. For example, this frequency of olfactory or smelling sensory input, right? So those flowers or lilacs that this gentleman's smelling or sniffing is particles that are put into the air that we can actually sense from our nose. Our nose has sensory receptor sites that actually pick up those particles from the flower, giving us the sensation, the understanding of sense, of smell, a sense of smell. How do we experience these frequencies, for example, as we find them through our lives? Sensing abstract sensory information can be challenging to understand, articulate, and share with others. So, for example, I have a pictograph here of how one can sense someone's energetic field. So, for example, we could sense it by seeing it, right? Seeing the particles, seeing the auric field of this person's energy pattern or template. Some people call it a Merkaba, our idea of how we hold and move around physically in the world with energy patterns inside of us and our being. And so this depiction of this photograph is really fantastic because I see this centered area right above the heart, the physical heart, our star energy, our energy that emits the creation of life throughout our whole body and our being and our energetic system. So there are many systems inside the physical body. For example, meridians. For example, chakras, the star energy. For example, dantians and different areas that light up through the body. Then we can get into the physical attributes of the energetic body. Everything's energy. Why? Well, because we're made of atoms, and atoms have a nucleus. They have electrons, neutrons, and protons. Those are energy particles. Those particles wouldn't exist without energy, right? Or being a part of the energetic process. And so in this idea, we can experience the different frequencies and locate them in the body. So for example, when you have the ability to see into the body, kind of like an X-ray, you can see bones, but you can also see muscles, blood vessels, the heart, organs, the brain. all different aspects inside the body, we have the ability to locate those frequencies and understand whether they're discordant, that can mean ill, diseased, right? Or have certain conditions of dysfunction. It could also have function and even higher function. We have the ability to see into the body in these multitudes of ways. Let's talk about for a moment the idea of resonating with people through frequency energy exchanges. Now, this is what I've talked about in previous episodes about conflict resolution and the idea that what is the energy between exchanging energies? So here's a person and here's a person, and inside this real estate between the two people, what are the energy exchanges? Right? They could be positive or negative, but are they physical? Are they mental? Are they emotional? Are they spiritual? What kinds of energy exchanges are occurring? Is one taking? Is one receiving? Are they both taking? Are they both receiving? So let's dive into this idea of energy exchanges and what this means. So for example, if I was the speaker and you were the listener, how would I land the experience so that it makes sense to you? It's understandable, it's relatable, it's connectable. And we talk about it either through the sender or the receiver, and it depends on the awareness of each participant, right? So for example, in an energy exchange, we could actually energy exchange with a plant, our garden, our flowers, the trees, in our neighborhood, in our environment. Even at a distance, we can have the ability to connect and relate with these energy exchanges. Another energy exchange is the way in which we vocalize, the way in which we speak, and our patterns of speech. If you'll notice, this pattern of speech, it seems to be consistent, like talking without a breath or a break in between. It would be really hard to really understand what's happening in the person when they have no break in between, right? So that's discordant speaking patterning that we can listen to. But what if we could do it differently? What if we could speak inside patternings with pauses that allow the listener to receive the information, process the information, and then assimilate it in such a way whether to respond or to continue listening? Let's talk for a moment about matching frequencies. What does that mean? This is such a big opportunity for many people that we may not really understand the aspects, the literal aspects of how to match frequencies. So what we're doing is we're connecting the elements that forge the desired manifestation with the aspects that create the desired experience. So what does that mean? And why did I say it that way? Why do I want to share it that way with you? Well, let's break that down a little bit more. Connecting the elements. So for example, there's two people that want to communicate with each other. Maybe their distance is really far. Let's say 3,000 miles, right? Or 6,000 kilometers away from each other. That's a pretty big distance. How will we communicate? Will it be over a telephone? Will it be over a Zoom or other video conferencing? Will it be on a TV web show like you're watching now? What if we can connect through our hidden superpowers? What if we can connect telepathically, empathically, energetically in ways that we hadn't considered before? So in this idea of connecting the elements, we're forging this, in this sense, this example, a communication, right? So we're forging that desired manifestation of communication with the aspects that create the desired experience. So if I wanted to speak to someone 3,000 miles away, for example, and I did not have any media or technologies to use that are outside of me, I'm going to use my inner technologies. Inside my inner technologies, I do know that I have the capacity to deliver a telepathic message with really good accuracy. Now, what makes it accurate? It's the listener, isn't it? Because it's the quality of the listening that allows me to speak, because I could speak all day telepathically. And if no one's out there listening or having the ability to hear what I'm sharing, then it might not be that worthwhile on a simple level, for example. So if I wanted to communicate across the miles, I probably wouldn't yell louder, right? My voice couldn't maybe not emulate all the way in an auditory frequency, right? Like the music with the music notes, it might not reach 3,000 miles. So I have to amplify that frequency, don't I? So the way that I amplify it is through the quantum field, right? Those particles. I get very clear with my thoughts. I could include emotions which accelerate the manifestation. It could be negative or it could be positive. I support not sending negative frequencies, especially emotions or telepathic communications, to others. It's also known as a psychic attack. I don't think it's very favorable for anyone in our society to experience this kind of communication. So instead, support ourselves with compassion. And if we want to send a message that maybe isn't so great, wonderful, or exciting, or happy, what if we could send it with compassion inside the absence of judgments? And inside matching that person's frequency in order to hear, they might be more open to hearing your telepathic communication. They might not understand the idea of telepathy. And so what they might experience is, you were in my thoughts this morning, and I just wanted to call you and let you know. Then you know that actually you were sending a telepathic communication, right? They may or may not respond. They may just think of you in their mind. They may think of what it is you're sharing and move on with their day and never share that they experienced you in their awareness. That happens also. It's okay. The important thing is to recognize when we want to send frequencies, when we want to send a communication, when we want to create a manifestation, which is a communication. It doesn't have to be physical. It can be oral. It can be telepathic. It can be emotional. And when we send this telepathic communication, flavor it up. Release the judgments and say, wow, I really had a hard time with you today. And I'm hoping as the day progresses, we have an opportunity to open our communications and improve it throughout the day. What if we can send that kind of message to our friends, our loved ones, other people, in just a moment of time, a moment of reflection, a moment of focus? And inside that focus, we deliver it intentionally to support the relating, to support the manifestation of the relationship. Those actually really do work. They actually do impact our lives and our relationships. So let's dive a little deeper into this concept. Here's a fun one that I thought was really fascinating. So let's say you wanted to find a hidden treasure, maybe in your own room or in your car or in your house, in your opportunity, in your situation, in your environment. You hid something from yourself. I don't know, a ring or something valuable, right? Maybe some money, something. And you can't remember where you put it. So what you want to do is you want to match yourself to the frequency of, let's say you took off your ring on your finger because you were going sailing or surfing or something, and you didn't want to lose it in the ocean. So you put your ring away, but you didn't put it in a normal place that you would remember to pick it up because you were in a rush. So now think about matching the frequency of the ring to where you are and the relationship and the distance between it so that you have the opportunity to find that ring, also known as the role of finder. So when you embody the role of finder and you become focused on the ring and its atomic value, right? So it's made of atoms, it's made of energy, it emits a frequency. It can actually show you, tell you, share with you where it is. Because in our world is omniscience. Omniscience. It's all knowing. It's never not knowing. And we have the opportunity when we calm, when we breathe, when we center into our reality, letting go of the attachment to the outcome, knowing that you have the ability to find it. We start to listen for where, or see, or sense, or smell, or taste, maybe. Depends on if it's food. And for example, we could determine where things are located. So we have this ability to connect and match with the frequencies. So let's use a practical application about what that means. Here's a car salesman, and he's selling this vehicle or this new vehicle to this buyer. She is the buyer, and she's looking at the car. Well, there are lots of different frequencies we go into when we purchase a large item. We take a lot of considerations. We take in our unconscious experiences of how we work with the salesperson, for example, if we're the client or we're the buyer. If we're the salesperson, it's our opportunity to connect and match the frequency of the buyer. So what I'm sharing here is this concept of matching the frequencies of the buyer and the seller. And that actually can occur as well to support people in connecting to what it is, their desired manifestation, and to create that into form. So there's lots of ways in which I invite you, the listener, to think about different ways to explore different ways of knowing how we can match frequencies in our lives by developing our hidden superpower called Frequency Finder. Let's talk for a moment about telepathic locations. I was speaking about that a little bit, about the one that we want to communicate to 3,000 miles away. How do you find a person anywhere in the world who you would like to have a conversation with? Did you know it's possible? I do it every day, all day long, all throughout my experiences and my time here in my physical body as Ashley. And I commit, I promote, I support, I facilitate telepathic communications. And the way to start with that, for example, let's say I wanted to talk to my brother in Hawaii. And so what I do is I locate him. He's a few hours distant from where I am in my present location. So what I take into consideration is my perspective, what I want to share, and then also his perspective and what he would like to hear or listen to or feel or sense from me. He might be asleep in the moment. So if he's asleep in the moment, I probably don't want to send him a telepathic communication because I wouldn't want to disrupt his sleep patterns. But when I locate him and I recognize how he is, what he's doing, he's breathing gently. He's resting his head on a pillow. I sense, I know that he's sleeping in the moment. And when I know that, then I'll rescind the telepathic communication until later when he's ready to wake up and have his day. And then I'll support him by connecting to his energy and delivering him a message of love. Have a beautiful day surfing, have a beautiful day fishing. enjoy the sunshine, the fresh air, and the ocean breezes, as he always does, right? So that's another way of sending a loving, complimenting opportunity to share with our loved ones, our friends, all kinds of people all over. The fascinating thing is when we locate a person, when we know what they're doing, we know what they're understanding, and we're meeting them where they're at, they're more receptive, they're more open to hearing that telepathic communication, right? Sometimes we send a telepathic communication in a sense of emergency to a loved one. Let's say we're injured or we're hurt, and we're like, husband, wife, please come and pick me up, locate me, I need help, for example, something like that. We can send those as well. And so all of a sudden we may get an impetus as the receiver or the listener. We may get an impetus to go, wow, there's something wrong. I can just feel it. I know it. I know it. Those are receiving moments of telepathic communications. A lot of times we're hyper attuned to what is negative in our world. And so when we send a negative telepathic communication or a less desirable one, for example, I'm hurt, I'm sick, I'm not okay, please help me. Those calls for help, they're a little bit challenging because sometimes for the listener, they're unnerving. Especially it depends on how sensitive to telepathic communications you are, right? Or empathic communications. So in this opportunity, take a look at, notice when I send a communication to somebody, even telepathically or empathically or a combination of the two, right? A communication bathed in emotion. Inside that opportunity, how would I like to share? I sense that as our world grows in consciousness and we expand in our awareness, becoming acutely aware of what the other person is experiencing, what I'm experiencing, and what am I sending over the airwaves, right? I take responsibility for that. I take an understanding for that. I'm kind, I'm compassionate, I'm supportive. And when I'm not, I'd like to notice what that is so that I diminish that energetic imprint that I make with that person, right? So we get to be responsible for our thoughts and feelings in such a way that allows us to really connect with each other and talk to each other. Just think, if the electricity went down, if the internet went down, if all different things went down, we still have the ability to communicate and locate one another. Just like this picture shows, we can locate people, places, and things around our planet and not even realize that it's true. Practice. See what you get. Talk to others outside of your immediate environment. Play with it. Have fun with it. I suggest really strongly for children and adults to refrain from the opportunity of being controlling or demanding or insisting or even more deeply mind controlling. I am truly stand not for that type of behavior, that type of opportunity that we could do with other people. I think on this planet, we already have enough mind control. We already have enough subliminal, neurolinguistic programming, other forms of programming that we use to conjure and to commit control over another person. I suspect we denigrate and we reduce the opportunity to really share our heart-centeredness when we do this with each other. I support that when you receive a telepathic communication or some sort of transmission that is controlling you, because you may not have been acutely understanding the transmissions that are occurring around the planet to control the masses, to control us individually. Tune in. When you feel that, you go, no, thank you. I let that go. No, thank you. It's not happening here. Empower yourself and empower others to stand in your true nature of love and to really take responsibility for the opportunities of how we can share in these very deep, heart-centered ways. And let go of any forms of manipulation, control, or conjuring. Let's talk for a moment about magnetic location and the opportunity of what that means. It's kind of cool. How do you find an object anywhere at any depth magnetically? Well, quite honestly, we can do it this way with, I think it's called a Geiger counter. It's people who are looking for treasures under the sand. And what are they doing? They're connecting with metals. But what if all atomic particles are made of atoms and they all have a magnetic field around them, creating a toroid around the atoms, around the object? And we have the ability to tune in to find it ourselves with our own inner technology. Let's talk for a moment about echolocation. Pinging that which you seek in your inner navigation radar systems. Oops, dolphins do it really well. But this is where we can connect to different levels of frequencies, sound frequencies, visual frequencies, UV, gamma, X-ray, all different types of energy patterns that we can connect to ping that which we are seeking to locate. A technology that's an external technology that we utilize is a fish locator, right? It's sonograms. So it pings an energy down through the water and it gives a visual field on a screen, and it lets fishermen know where the fish are swimming around and located. But what if we could do that inside our inner technology without needing to use the machinery? I suggest while you're out practicing, practice both ways and see what you get. Let's talk about the value of frequency finding. It creates the ability to refine one's options, find solutions for problems, and determine clarity to optimize outcomes. So if we're trying to find a frequency, or we're trying to locate a frequency and it's discordant, it gets a little disheveled, it gets a little filtered, it gets a little strange to try to find it. We have our own filters of our own inner technologies. What are those called? Doubt, concern, overwhelm, attachment to the outcome. Those will change the way in which we frequency find. What we'd like to do is become very rhythmic, right? This is a typical heartbeat, an electrical heartbeat. So we can frequency find the heartbeat and know intrinsically whether someone has an arrhythmia or not. We can find these frequencies all throughout our lives and our bodies. We can even tune into the frequency around our genetics and our DNA, and whether that's rhythmic and supportive and balanced, or whether it's out of balance, causing disease, conditions, or illness. I want to thank you so much for joining me today and really sharing with you the opportunity that frequency finding can be and is one of our hidden superpowers. We really do have a program that augments and supports your opportunity of discovering your hidden superpowers. By creating this program of watching this TV show every Tuesday on awaketvnetwork.com, awaketvnetwork.live. Both give areas. The .live accesses you to our TV show and the many other TV shows of other practitioners that are amazing, that shift our consciousness and that awaken the superpowers within us. On Wednesday nights, through accessinfinite-knowledge.com, we have an opportunity to share with you our remote energy healing transmissions that really open the opportunity for you to experience inside a dedicated meditation, an introspective contemplation of what your superpowers are and how you may utilize them in practical, efficient, and supportive ways in your life. We have a special offer for you to support you while you're watching these superpower shows. So when you apply at Access Infinite Knowledge and register for Hidden Superpowers Remote Energy Transmissions, please put in the coupon code of AWAKE, capitals, all capitals, AWAKE33 for 33% off the Hidden Superpowers Remote 12-week Energy Healing Transmission Program. We support you in subscribing to Awake TV so that you have the opportunity to have, week 1 of your hidden superpowers with week 1 of our remote energy transmission hidden superpowers, so that they run concurrently together, and the opportunity for growth and expansion in your superpowers is right here at your fingertips. I invite you to join me again next week for the next episode of Hidden Superpowers. Thank you for tuning in.